All right, let's get down to business with To Kill a Mockingbird. We are storming through this book. Okay, we are halfway through, almost halfway through now, since you guys have read chapter 14, and hopefully you guys are not getting behind on your reading, all right? Because that would be bad. All right, don't let it pile up on itself. Otherwise, you'll have a lot of reading to do before the test. So, in chapter 12, we have kind of a lonely start to the chapter. For Scout, we receive news that Dill is not going to be there that summer. He has to stay in Meridian, where he's from. And that Jim has kind of abandoned Scout as well because he is 12 years old and starting to grow into his body a little bit. Yes, he is maybe possibly going through the P word, puberty. Okay? So he is kind of isolating himself a little bit. He is trying to act more manly all the time, and his voice is dropping all the time, and probably cracking all the time as well. Okay, so Scout is very lonely, but Calpurnia decides to try and cheer them up, and she makes the decision to take them to her church. Okay, her church is an African-American church, right? I mean, they were pretty segregated, just like the schools back then, and they are confronted by a lot of different people while they're at the church. Some are nice confrontations, some are not so nice. The first interaction they have is with this taller lady named Lula, and she's very not okay with having white children in her church. So the kids are very intimidated at first. They say, Calpurnia, it's okay, we can go home. And Calpurnia kind of puts her foot down and says, no, we're staying here. And then they meet a guy named Zebo. Zebo is the town trash collector, and it turns out Zebo is very well spoken. He can read, and he sings very beautifully. He's got a talent for singing. We also meet Reverend Sykes, who is the reverend of the church. He's very welcoming as well. And then finally, we don't directly meet the character, but we hear that at the collection part of the church, the money collection, is going to be going to Tom Robinson. Remember, Tom Robinson is the name of the guy who Atticus is defending. The collection is going for his family, right? His wife at home has 3 kids, and she basically doesn't have any money to feed them. So the money is going to be going to her. And this shirt is just so bright. I feel like an angel. It's awesome. Okay, so what is the main lesson they learned from going to church with Calpurnia? I think maybe it's both good and bad on Calpurnia's part. She kind of shows us that she has a separate life, right? And she's a great moral compass in the book, of course, but also that she feels pressured in the town of Maycomb to make herself appear as white as she can. So she talks very eloquently when she is with the Finches, right? But she has this separate life where she talks differently, and the kids notice this, right? So Calpurnia is shown to have a separate lifestyle, and this incident with Zebo and all the people they meet. So Scout and Jim kind of have this stereotype of what it's like, right, to be an African American in Maycomb, and that stereotype is kind of shattered, right, in good ways and bad ways. They meet a lot of nice people at the church, people who just seem like normal people, and but they also learn, right, that most of the people aren't singing along because they cannot read, right, the hymnals, and Jim and Scout notice how sad that is, right, that white people, no matter how terrible they are, like the Ewells, have an opportunity for education in the city, whereas African Americans are not given that opportunity. So Scout and Jim learn a lot about Calpurnia's community. They learn a lot about Calpurnia. And it's a good chapter for learning some lessons. So